Aloha and welcome to the Resist with Joy podcast, where we amplify the voices of everyday people and empower our listeners to engage, show up, and become the policy shapers of tomorrow. I'm Tina Marie.
And I'm Martina. Welcome back. After a little break, we want to dive into something other than the news, and we want to share a few things that happened the last 3 weeks and how things affect us and maybe affect you too. And it's a really good place to talk about things. Hence, they have a podcast, so our voice are heard.
Let's dive right in.
Let's dive right in. All right.
So it's been a busy couple weeks.
Can say that. Last weekend on Sunday, we didn't record because we were very busy at Old Airport. And there's a pavilion, and this pavilion was used as a celebration for 250 years of America, but also to have candidates that are running in our primary election that will conclude on 8/8. And lots of people are running for office these days, which is fantastic. And that was an outlet or an opportunity for candidates for county council. On the Hawaii County Council, 4 people will be replaced. So there's a lot of competition. I really love that. And also on the state level, of course, races are on. Folks were invited, and we did a collaboration with Kona Indivisible, which I'm on, and Tina Marie is on the Democratic Party and on Kona Indivisible. So we did a collaboration between the Democratic Party of the County of Hawaii and Kona Indivisible. And we were really busy because what it meant is like lots of preparation beforehand, meetings, Zoom meetings, who does what side organizes certain things. There was a band.
A lot of differing opinions.
Oh, yes, that too. And then the actual day was physical work. There's lots of people coming. You need to set up tables and stands. And yeah, the band was playing. I think we did a really good job organizing for the ones that came. But behind the scenes, some things were a little bit difficult, I have to say. And it ties into what we're talking about today. So how were your last 2 or 3 weeks?
Every time I have an event, I feel like my body just wants to crash afterward. And I basically was preparing for this event and trying to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. Like you said, we had to set up the tables. We had to do the politicians, make sure they're coming, make sure they know that they're going to have a table, make sure that they can set up their information, organize the agenda for the stage of when people are going to be talking and whatnot, and just trying to organize with another party, with the Democratic Party, which in my experience, sometimes they're on the ball and sometimes it feels like I'm trying to drag them into the modern times.
Yeah. For me, it was the first event in the political arena, but I did learn over the years, politics is local. You want to know who the people are that, in our case, Hawaii County Council. I mean, if you think of 3 forms of government, federal, state, and local government, that's our county council. And of course, our mayor, but this is a different election. Yeah, 9 people on the council, 4 people are being replaced because some people don't run anymore or they're taking different offices or they're terming out. That's a lot of people. It's almost half the county council. So you want to be really interested in who these people are. Yeah, and statewide, I personally think the state has really good lawmakers. I'm really pleased with that, especially when we look back at the last legislative session with SB 2471 to get dark money out of politics legislation, the law that is now Act 11. I'm very pleased, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean they should not present themselves and when they run for office and tell us what they feel like. And I have one particular thing that I'm really looking for in any kind of leadership right now. And only one person really did this during the event is talking about that we live through a fascist federal government. And I actually had to talk about this earlier in the day with someone else. I'm fighting for a form of government. Some people say, you're just fighting for the Democrats or you're just a liberal. Or actually, what it comes down to, I want to live in a form of government that is liberal democracy. And liberal democracy means that individual rights, my rights or everybody else's individual rights are first. It's written down in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And they cannot be, it doesn't matter who's in charge of the government, still my individual rights are more important than what the government is doing.
Right.
And we're now in a phase where this is being upside down, where individual rights don't seem to matter anymore. Human life doesn't seem to matter much. And
our Constitution doesn't seem to matter anymore.
That's right. That's right. And that's why we don't dive into the news today, because we're getting such an onslaught. So many different things could be talked about. But I want to acknowledge that it's a tough fight to have the form of government that we are also accustomed by, and it seems to slip away, but we also have agency. And I want to stay in the fight along with you, Tina Marie, and everybody as indivisible, and because we seem to be the group, and that event on Sunday showed it quite clear that we feel the urgency of the moment while others do not feel it or want to play like on harmony. We should be harmonic with each other.
Yes.
Where I am often misinterpreted, but it is urgency that drives me these days with the primary coming up. And it's important who wins in the primary, because in Hawaii, it's a blue state. We really get the right fighters and the people with the right mindset and moral compass in the primary. And then in the general, we will have Democratic representation in Washington. I know that for sure.
One of the most important things to me about what we did for this event is because there are so many people running for office, we had to figure out a way to help them get their message across. And by bringing them to an event where they can actually talk to voters directly is hugely impactful. Because, for one, the people that are running at the council level, at the state house level, at the state senate level, these are people that are probably going to go on to higher office later. And for me, it was important to bring them to the voters now so that people can vote in the better people, so that if they do ascend to higher office, we're going to have better politicians in place at the state level, at the congressional level, if they decide to run for president, etc.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point. That's why local politics is so important, right? I mean, we had a story came out a few weeks ago after Tulsi Gabbard resigned from her position as DNI, Director of National Intelligence. And then it came out, actually, it was known all along, and I know of a lot of people that work in the Indivisible Ohana that were talking about this over and over again, that she is a bad apple. She's just not the right. But she had this label of Democratic Party, right? And then she rose on the ranks, and she should have been cut off here in Hawaii and not even get to Washington and represent the people of Hawaii and then go through the ranks of all the way highest form of government, highest position in government.
And how do we prevent people from obtaining office that have ulterior motives? Like, what is the lesson plan that we can take away from watching people like Tulsi Gabbard, Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema, John Fetterman, for example? They're all starting to lean towards the right side, or if they haven't gone there already. So how do we identify those type of people at the council level, at the House level, at the state Senate level? And what can we do to help identify potential people that would not stand on business later?
I have no idea. It's like,
Well, you
I
did
don't
have
an
one
answer.
idea.
Oh yeah, we did have an idea, Martina. We brought this together the other day. But it's such a heavy question. How do you avoid a Tulsi Gabbard, right? For me, what's just my first thought is like, I don't know how to stop it because it happened. My thought was just like, get more information to the voter and get them to the primary if you're in a state that where the primary is the really decisive vote. But go ahead. We did have an idea. We implemented it too. And we will, in the show notes, bring people's attention to it. So go ahead.
It's a similar thing that the Women's Caucus and the Stonewall Caucus had done within the Democratic Party. We put together a pledge asking candidates to reaffirm their commitment to upholding women's rights and the rights of the LGBTQIA plus community. And we were actually really successful in that because we got 60 candidates from across the state to sign on to that collaborative pledge. And we did make a post about it. You can go to the Stonewall Caucus's Instagram. I'll put in the show notes with the PDF. And it has a list of everyone that signed and what their positions were. And it's not an endorsement because the caucuses actually wanted to endorse in the primaries, but that got voted down at the state convention. So this is the compromise. We put together a list of statements, asked them to say, hey, do you reaffirm and confirm this? And will you uphold this in legislation? If they said yes, we put them in the document. And this is going to be just a start, just a little guide for voters to use to help them determine on who to vote for. So we decided to do something similar at the local level here in Kona Indivisible.
Yeah, our idea was just ask the candidates to sign a pledge. And for the summary of the pledge, we will put it in the show notes. I'm standing for human rights. That's it. That's what we're asking for. Have the human experience not diminished. Just make sure we are well taken care of, because that's what I think of government. My individual rights and liberal democracy are first, and the government that is in place does everything to protect those rights. Yeah. And I mean, there was quite a discussion within the Democratic Party and in Kona Indivisible leadership,
Was it just discussion?
because we did it. What's that?
Was it just discussion?
Well, I don't know how deep we should go on this podcast, but it all ties into what we're talking about next. It is this where I feel, me personally, I feel I have really clear red lines these days. And I want people to be on that side that I'm on, and not let people make arguments for two sides, or feel more harmony is more important between you and me at this point, where I'm like, no, you're not standing for human rights. You make an argument that the pledge is not at the right time introduced, so maybe a timing problem to it. And you get to know people and learn more about the Democratic Party, which I am a member because I want to learn more about it. And I had now two experiences. One was a state Democratic Party convention, eye-opening, and now I had the local Hawaii County Democratic Party exposure to. And okay, I'm staying with Indivisible because I have so much more leverage and so much more room to maneuver for what I think the message has to be.
And to be fair, it is just a few boulders in the Democratic Party that are holding it back. But yeah, some of the discussion and discourse around us doing the pledge was pretty eye-opening. A lot of the arguments against it was like, they can just lie and they can sign it and they won't actually hold true. Okay, we know that's going to happen, but this gives us a baseline to watch their progress throughout their legislative journey. And also, should we just do nothing? Because doing nothing, not having any form of accountability, led us to Trump 2.0. And that's not okay with me. There's the other argument that the Democratic Party is a big tent and we should be not divisive within the Democratic Party. I'm sorry, but the big tent argument is not working for us because MAGA has infiltrated us. And we know that because some people at the state convention admitted to voting for MAGA, admitted to voting for Trump. If I go to a Democratic convention, I don't expect to see anybody there that voted for Trump. At worst, I would expect them to vote for Harris or a left-leaning independent, not Trump. I don't want to be in a room with people who voted for Trump. That's not my kuleana, not where I want to be. And for people in the Democratic Party to make excuses for that, it's not acceptable for me. So this is why I hope that more of us will actually get involved and push those people out and take back the party.
Yeah, just what you just described, it's like when someone within the Democratic Party and has a position there, just let's be peaceful with each other and love each other. And both of us are like, no, I cannot let that stand, that someone who is voted for Trump and then infiltrate the state convention to be, and there's no okay here. Dear listeners, we just have lines. And the line, we don't want to cross that anymore. We really need people on the side of we stand for liberal democracy in all its forms, and democracy is messy, but the only other alternative right now is falling into autocracy, and nothing good comes from the individual from that. So bear with us, but that's where we sit.
You have to also look at it this way, because I look at everyone who voted for Trump the same way people in Germany looked at Hitler and all of his compadres, we literally have them going around terrorizing people, dragging them out of their homes, breaking into their windows, doing military style invasions on apartment buildings, terrorizing the community. And then they're being put into detention centers that are overflowing. They can't even keep track of who they're taking. They migrate them from facility to facility. They can't talk to their lawyers, their family, anything. Not getting proper food, medical care. They're being beaten. Teenagers are being raped. I cannot sit at a table and be cozy and see both sides and whatever with people who voted for that and think it's okay. Like, I just can't. There's something visceral in my soul that is like, this is fucked up. And I cannot sit there and be casual and look at their opinions as if they're valid when there's cruelty. They're advocating for cruelty. And I cannot sit there and be like, oh yeah, let's just be all hunky dory and sing kumbaya. No.
That's right. No is a full sentence. No, we're not going to do that. So yeah, this was the last 2 or 3 weeks where we were really heavily involved in not only the planning or actually the post meeting too, but the actual event on Sunday was busy day. And we will have some resources for voters now, which I'm really excited about. That was the whole idea, that voters have more information. As Indivisible, we receive emails from people and they say, hey, do you know anything about Councilperson District 6 or Councilperson District 2? And we will have resources for people. And we have the pledge that is out there. If people hopefully sign it, you make a stand, you show leadership, you understand the concerns of your constituents, and that's all we can do to bring more information to the people, so we have a government of the people. That's right.
And everything we've been describing just now, there's actually a psychological term for it. And I'm not a psychologist, but I did do some research. And what we were describing is called the halo effect. It's basically a behavior is known in psychology as the halo effect. It is a cognitive bias where your overall positive impression of someone spills over and causes you to excuse, minimize, or fail to recognize their negative actions. And there's a reverse halo effect called the Horn effect, HORN. And that is the exact opposite of the halo effect. It occurs when a single bad trait or action causes others to assume the person is inherently bad overall, despite anything good that they've ever done.
So I've never heard of it. It's super interesting. For me, the first thought came up, it's like the generalization of something. You see some behavior from someone, then you generalize that person, good or bad, and then you maybe know where that person comes from. And then you go to the next generalization. Maybe it was a woman or a man. All men say that, or all women say that. Or you go national, a whole population says that all Americans are this, or all the Germans are this. So is it something that ties into this? Because you just make decisions based on short interactions with people and you categorize them by that?
Yes, that's basically what it's saying. And I like to give the example of one of our congresswomen, Jill Takuda. She has been absolutely phenomenal, progressive, advocating for all the right things, voting, on point most of the time. And I want to understand, what if she starts going soft on ICE, on police brutality, on all these other things? What if she starts going soft and starts saying things like, ICE is just doing their job. Police have dangerous jobs. They're just trying to, be safe and trying to excuse all the bad shit that's happening. Is the Democratic Party going to hold her accountable when she starts capitulating to Republicans? Are they going to say, well, she's been really good. We don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to mess up our relationship with her. We can't say anything bad about her. That's what I see them doing if she were to become that way. And me, I'm going to be there calling her out, even though she has done good. I don't care. I value politicians doing the right thing versus developing a relationship. But Jill Takuda, I don't see her doing that. She's been phenomenal. And hopefully she stays that way and stays, working for the people.
Super interesting. I'm going to read up on it a little bit more so I can find examples in my life where I can that sounds like halo effect. I use a very different term, but I use something called Moana effect. I'm in the ocean recreation business. And for me, it's kind of this Moana effect is like where people are so disconnected from nature because I watch all the fantasy movies, right? So I have example after example where people walk up to me and I'm going to the real thing into the ocean at night to see the manta rays. And then people are like, manta rays are coming to me. And I'm like, no, they're not coming to you. They come to the light to get the food, right? But it's an effect on people because the fantasy movies just brought so much wrong knowledge that they just took the wrong information from those movies. The ocean is the ocean. It's real thing. It's nature. It's wild animals. And I think it's really interesting to just think about the halo effect now. When I look around and just learn about it, whether this effect is actually taking place.
You're approaching it from the very scientific matter of fact. They're coming towards the light. And other people are looking at it through a spiritualistic lens. Everything happens for a reason. They're coming up to me, blah, blah, blah. I had a very similar instance just now at the post office because when I was going to get my mail, I came out and all of the little chickens that were there started coming up to me. I have no idea why they came up to me, but they came up to me for a reason. If I was a spiritual person, I would have been like, oh, I'm a Disney princess now. They're going to come and like talk to me and whatever. But I'm sure there's a scientific explanation. I was wearing something very flowery. They probably thought I had food.
Yeah, yeah. But this is for me so reality based, right? So I think what the halo effect kind of teaches is like, it's like in reality, the person is okay. Takuda is an okay politician for what we need for the liberal democracy, for the overarching values we want her to stand for, while then the nuance of her actions might differ on certain things. I actually had a very short interaction with her at one of the town halls, and I thought she was incredible. I really liked what she did and how she answered the constituents' questions. But I asked her at the very end, is like, I would wish that you talk more clearly what kind of form of government the federal government wants to be, right? And she looked at me, she said, you think I should say it's fascism? I'm like, that's exactly what I want you to say. But there's this hesitancy. And
It is.
and I think it's just culturally here in America, it has still not trickled down. But I want the leaders in this time of our lives to be clear about it. And that's what I'm hoping for, to convince. I just listen to people saying it clearly. I connect faster with them versus someone who's,
a little bit hesitation.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're both sides. They just cannot put it into words as clearly as I wish. That's what I'm looking for in leadership these days.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah. So we had one more thing we wanted to talk about, and then we tied into your mail that you picked up with the chickens today. I mean, one of the things that came very clear, and I just heard about it. I mean, I live in the United States, and there was always this two-party system. And then eventually I learned that the Republican Party just is going over the cliff because they just don't care about liberal democracy anymore.
They don't even care about law and order.
Yeah, constitution, whatever, And so then we're left with the Democratic Party. And I've heard it many times in the news or something. People say the Democratic Party is a really bad brand, because in America, marketing is really important. It has spread around the world how you market things, and branding is important. I learned it over the years how important it is. And so I was always sitting with this. Democratic is not a good reputation at what branding also brings. And after my experience last week, and I was trying to explain to other people in the Democratic Party, is like, you know why people are drawn to Indivisible? Because we talk the real thing. We're talking what the problem is. And
we're actually taking action.
And you guys are still doing the old playbook. Be nice to each other. Look at two sides.
Big tent.
Etc. Big tent. And anyway, when we talked about this earlier in preparation, something came up that I listened to. It's a podcast. It was about psychology. They did almost over a year of called Shrinking Trump, and two psychologists, and they had a guest one time. I will find the YouTube video. Someone wants to listen to it. But there was one particular guest, and it came up when the Epstein survivors were lots in the news, all this trying to get the legislation through. That was last summer. But this guest said something that really resonated with me because it was about the Democratic Party and the bad reputation and the branding and why nobody really trusts them. And he brought it down to a household relation that we as the nation, as the citizens, we have Republicans, Democratic Party, let's say mom and dad, whoever the position is. And one of them, mom or dad, really went over the cliff. And so we're left with the other parent. And that other parent is incapable of protecting us. So it is such a deep feeling in all of us that we want to be protected by mom and dad. That's how we grow up. And our whole nation is now suffering from this effect that the Democratic Party continues to stay many times because we are on a local level now. Dear Democratic Party, catch up. You need to change the rule books. You need to really catch up that you, the citizens or the folks that are in the Democratic Party or the politicians that go through you as a vehicle to get to office, we want to be protected. That's why we vote the right people in. But often those politicians don't get the right input or the correct red lines, or we want to talk about harmony and love. And it's this critical time that I just wish that people in the Democratic Party just realize that now and not wait much longer.
It's a really interesting way to put it, is that, you have one parent that's being abusive And then the other parent just doesn't have the tools to defend you. And they're still trying to make the marriage work because they've been married for such a long time. And the kids, what about the kids? You know, it's a really interesting analogy to kind of make and see how that shows up in other aspects of life.
Yeah. And it just, because I had now 2 experiences with the Democratic Party of Hawaii, one it was a state level, now on a county level, I do have an opinion now about the folks that are running the party. And what I wish is that more people get engaged and not saying just let it go. It cannot crash because the political system needs a functioning party. But on the other hand, we need people in the Democratic Party that understand that we want protection and
people like us who know how to protect get in the position to shape policy.
Oh, yeah. From showing up to shaping policy. It says right there. Yeah. Anyway, I want to just share that with you, Tina Marie, and the listeners, because it goes down to the very basics of our feelings and how we want to be protected. And the nation is grappling with so much. And that's why there's so much discourse and discomfort or hate and anger. And it's difficult. These are difficult times for sure.
I got some exciting mail this morning.
Okay, go ahead.
Before I get to my mail, I want to take a selfie. I'm going to let all of my listeners know the back of what we do. This is the back end.
Okay.
Little behind the scenes. Hi.
I'm not sure why I leaned my head over the side, but because it was really
it
weird.
It was perfect. Anyways, we got some exciting mail. Here's the mail that never fails and makes me want to wag my tail. Mail! Look at my election.
The ballot. That's right.
I haven't opened it yet. Should we open it?
Please. Mine came yesterday. So in Hawaii, we do all mail-in ballots. And our deadline to bring it back to the voting center is August 8th. August 8th. We really appreciate if people vote early. We hope we can help you make decisions. But in general, if you live in Congressional District 1, we absolutely are behind Jared Keahokalole to replace Ed Case, if that's on your ballot. If you're on the lieutenant governor, it's a statewide race. We say Della Obelati is the right person. She doesn't take dark money. She would replace, no, actually it's not a replacement. She's running against someone who takes obviously dark money because he did lots of ads that is financed by dark money. They're called super PACs. So there are clear winners and candidates in this who's running for office. And I hope you make the effort to look into everything. But I will vote for Keahokalole. Well, I don't live there. I would vote for him. And then Della Obelati will definitely be my choice for lieutenant governor.
Now, it's very important you understand what's in your ballot envelope. First things first, you got the return envelope. It says primary right here. On the other side, it's got your name and address, which I've covered because privacy, security. But this is the most important box. If you decide to put this in the mail or drop it in a drop box, you absolutely need to sign it. This signature has to match the signature on your state ID or driver's license, whatever you used to register to vote. When you register to vote in Hawaii, it asks you for your state ID number or your driver's license number. They're going to match your signature with what you have on your ID. If it does not match, your ballot will be invalid. Very important. On the other side, it says right here, no postage necessary, meaning you do not need a stamp to return this. This needs to be in the mailbox and received to the elections people by August 8th. Alternatively, if you can't get to the mailbox in time, drop it off at a mailbox, not a mailbox, a drop box. They are brown, a secure drop box.
And we can put it in the show notes where they are. Give you links.
We also have this little orange thing, yellow, orange. My eyes, I'm colorblind. So it gives you instructions on what to do with your ballot. Please read it. There's also a website on here if you want more information. And you got your ballot. Depending on what county and district you're in, check the back. There's more stuff to vote on. Always check the back. Now, the ballot itself does not have your name on it. So however you vote here, it's not going to be tied to your name. That's very important to understand. Nobody will know exactly how you vote. The only thing that they check is the envelope it came in. They check to make sure that it's a valid signature and you are who you say you are, they take this out and go scan it. But check the back of your ballot. It's long. Yay.
And there's a difference between, because it's a primary, you either do for Democratic primary for the candidates or you do the Republicans. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You cannot mix it. It's not a general election.
You're first going to choose which party you're voting for. And on my ballot, I have Libertarian, I have Green Party, I have Democratic Party. There's also a section for nonpartisan, and then there's the Republican Party down there. And then on the back, there's the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and your county council, at least for mine. But yeah, and that gives you instructions exactly right here on how to fill this out. And make sure you fill out the bubble completely. And don't exit out. Don't do anything. If you X out anything or make a mistake, it is invalid. Take it to an election office when they open. They will be open about a week ahead of time or 10 days ahead of time. And you can go in person to fill out your ballot as well. Very important information.
In a blue state, in the primary, when you have maybe a very red state or very blue state, in Hawaii for a long time, no Republican has really been voted into office. So it will be Democratic in the general election. But now we distinguish between the people that we really want in office and the ones either an incumbent should just retire with that, not continue his time in office, or just bring new people into. And we wanted to mention one more thing is on the Hawaii County Council. It's nonpartisan. It doesn't matter if that's what it means. It's not connected to parties.
But people that do run tend to be Democrat or Republican. So do your research.
Well, it was a jam-packed 30 minutes, or a little bit more, but we wanted to do it 20 minutes, but we just talk. We like to talk because we have a voice, we have agency, and we want you to have a voice and agency. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being with us to Resist with Joy. Check out the show notes. Make sure you click on all the links, like, share, etc. And what's your final for today, Tina Marie?
It's my final
today.
Resist with Joy. Go from showing up to shaping policy.
That's right. Aloha.
Aloha.